Hey, everybody, welcome to this very special issue of Staffing Monthly, where we are focusing on all things sales. Yes, we know that the year is almost over, but there is still time to hit your goals. There is still time to end the year with a bang. And if you want to make sure that you not only end your year with a bang and you go into next year on the right footing, make sure that you are getting out to our Staffing Sales Summit in February. But we have Mark Winter from WinSource Group. You know him if you've watched this magazine for any period of time. He is a friend of the program because he has amazing knowledge. And based on his experiences this year in dealing with hundreds of staffing professionals out there, he's recognized there's one particular area that needs attention. If sales leaders started focusing in alignment or aligned strategy, they would actually start to be able to drive growth more predictably. And Mark is going to be joining us at the Sales Summit talking about how to unlock the power of sales enablement and driving growth through aligned strategy. And I've invited him here today to talk a little bit about what this even means and unpack this title. So Mark, thank you so much for coming back to Staffing Monthly and sharing your wisdom. And I'm just glad to have you back, man.
Thanks. Good to be back. And hey, I want to tap into what you were just saying about there still being time in the year. One of the things that as I start to look at funnels for 2025 is the best predictor of success is what does your funnel look like coming into December? Like when you're in that mode of like the higher the trajectory in December, the better the lift you get coming into January and beyond. It's a predictor of success. So even if you're feeling like it's fruitless, the activity still pays dividends because when people start picking up the phone, you'll be their first call.
That is a true story. I love that. And I actually look at that same thing because I always measure, are we going into the year with momentum or resistance?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and if you are really pushing strong, yes, you might not see the results this year. However, it will give you a multiplier effect next year. And ultimately, we got to stop thinking about the turn of the calendar as some arbitrary, some just date that really matters. Really, it's just a continuation. So I love that you shared that, and we need to be pushing the funnels hard right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So you were one of the most talked about sessions. I have not heard any session probably quoted with specific tactics or one-liners more than your kind of advanced level leadership sessions that you mentored last year. And one of my favorite quotes, this is recency bias, but I had someone come up to me that's leading a sales team, and this year's tough. We knew this was going to be a challenging year. And he said, the thing I keep telling my team, some of them being a little bit less tenured in the industry, is something that came out of Mark's session from last year, which is, you know what? Sometimes work is hard. Sometimes you just have to just know, like, yeah, it's hard. Sometimes work is hard. And I love that because sometimes simple is effective.
Yeah.
And because of the feedback and how well received your topics were, I'm glad that you're going to be joining us again at the summit. But you're talking about something that is it seems pretty complex or advanced. Unlocking the power of sales enablement. I think that term alone, people are like, sales enablement, what does that even mean? And how to
Hmm.
drive growth through aligned strategy. So there's a lot there. So like unpack this for us. Like what are you sharing at the summit? What does this even mean?
Yeah. Well, so first, we're going to define what sales enablement is because it's not something that's really made its way into staffing. It
Yeah.
exists out there in the rest of the sales world, but it hasn't been formalized in staffing. The components are here. And part of what was driving the selection of this topic, frankly, was last year's summit. So at last year's summit, here were the hot button topics. We talked about I did a session on finding the right seller, right? Like getting people up to productivity.
Yeah.
We did a session on developing a good solid sales strategy. Haley Marketing and others were there talking about bringing your marketing components to the table. I had a number of people approach me after that were like, hey, talk to me about entry points. Like, what do we say to get customers' time and attention? So all of those things together, it occurred to me, the light bulb went on. I was like, what people are asking for is sales enablement. And sales enablement, just for our conversation, is defined as getting the right seller in front of the right prospect at the right time with the right tools, saying the right thing. So I'll say that one more time. Just it's the right person. So defining the right role, the right person, managing the right part of the sales process in front of the ideal prospect, so the right prospect at the exact right time, the predictable time, with the right tools, because we have a ton of tools at our disposal, saying the right things. And when we prep them and bring all of those things together, this magic happens. Simple magic. That's what's meant to happen. We end up crossing paths with our prospects at the exact moment where they're like, "Funny you stopped by. I was just thinking about you." Um, and that's a magical moment. It makes people smile, right? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to take all of those things and create alignment in the stars through sales enablement. That's what we're going to talk about.
I love that, and I love that you broke it down like that. And I have to chuckle around the magical moment. I just read this article recently about, the advanced psychological tactics of magicians, and a lot of magic exists in the mind of the person seeing it because of how we think and process the world. And what you just said about, wow, like, yeah, funny, I was just thinking about you and you're just showing up. Like the rest of the sales world that exists outside of the staffing industry uses these tools like IP tracking and cookies and remarketing and targeting and like knowing who's on the website. And they do all of these things masterfully. But you're right, the tools are out there, but we've just not really adopted them. And I feel like some of it is because I feel like sales is sometimes an afterthought in the operation. I feel like we're often overlooked when it comes to CRM functionality with the softwares. We're often overlooked with like how to actually, enable us with the tools and equipment and the best practices out there. So
Yeah.
it's just like I feel like we've just been lagging in like go get them, slap on the back. Here's your list. Here's some good ABC leads for you. And
Yeah.
coffees for closer mentality. So I love that you're starting to connect the dots and you're going to present this to the leaders there of like, hey, this is what you need to be building a real sales enablement model to help your salespeople actually connect and grow.
Yeah. And let's touch on that because there are some times where I do these presentations and I'll say, "Hey, it would be nice if you did this thing." Or here's something for you to think about incorporating into your business model down the road. This is not one of these times. This is a time where I'm telling people, like, if you're not doing this, you're losing. You will lose.
Yep.
You have to do this. It's not a choice because other people are doing this and now some of them are doing it with tools and fancy stuff, right? But it doesn't take a lot to get started. It just takes some planning and some organization and some thought to bring good people, good marketing, good sales tactics, and good market knowledge together. You can do that with a whiteboard and some good marketing tools, right? So I want to make sure that when people leave the session, if they have access to really fancy marketing tools or subscription things that they're paying for, great, incorporate that. But it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It can be just a whiteboard and a team that's willing to work hard with good materials that you likely already have that can make a huge material impact in the way you're selling.
Yeah, I love that. You know me, man. I prefer simple to complex. I realize that a lot of times leaders and owners and founders and executive, leadership will build systems of complexity a lot of times to impress themselves and their peers, but the customers really like, systems of simplicity that are effective. And I often have to remind myself of that. And as you were just speaking, Mark, I don't know if I've ever shared this technique I used to use all the time with customers, like right around this time of the year. And it's the you, me, us. Have I ever shared this technique I do with you, me,
No, go
us?
ahead.
Okay. So early in my sales career, when I wanted to make sure I could lock up the client, not really lock up, that sounds terrible. That sounds like I'm trying to hold them hostage, take them prisoner. No, when I wanted to like strengthen the relationship and make sure that I could count on them to be a good customer of ours and they could count on us to be a good partner, there's into the upcoming year, I used to do this technique and it was incredibly simple. There was no fancy technology or tools. And if anyone's listening, like this is a really good technique to use called You, Me, Us. What I would do is I would schedule a meeting and it would be sort of like a review, like, hey, I want to go in and talk about how the year's gone. And I would bring that data in sort of like QBR, like you requested this and we did this. But then I would say, hey, do you mind if we look forward? And use that great question, like in a year from now, if we're in this meeting, what would success look like? And get that answer and take that and then say, hey, can I share with you some things that, we're working on that are important to us? And I would list out some of our key priorities as a company. And then I
Hmm.
would, after doing that and kind of modeling that behavior, and I would write that, I would take here's the layout. I would take a piece of paper, turn it sideways, blank paper, and just draw two lines. And one, I'd put me, The other side I put you, and in the middle I put us. And I'd start like writing down like, okay, here's all the things, you know, we're in 3, 5 bullet points that were key strategic initiatives. Maybe like, you know, better employee screening, you know, improved assessment tests, you know, whatever it might be, right? You know,
Yep.
better safety program, whatever was important to our company that we were trying to do. And then I would say, okay, after hearing this, is there anything from your company, sort of as it relates to your people, that's important to you next year? And they start telling me things like improved attendance or better engagement or morale, or they would tell me all these different things. And I would be like, okay, do you mind if we connect the dots and see if there's areas that we could collaborate on? And then we would create this shared list of like 3 to 5 things in the middle column, the us. And we'd say, here, can we work together on this? Like, you want improved attendance. We want to have, you know, better duration of assignments and better completion. You know, can we work together to figure this out? And they'd be like, oh yeah, that'd be great, right? Because that's a win for both of us. And we would just do this until we created the 3 to 5 things. And it was such a simple technique. It led a conversation, but leaving that meeting, what I took out of it, one, I did my review and they felt good about where we were. I understood what success looked like for them in a year clearly. I understood the 3 to 5 key initiatives that they were thinking about for their organization. And then we left with an agreement to work on 3 to 5 things together
Yeah.
that connected the dots. And when we left
Love it.
that, we had a plan. And it was
Yep.
so simple.
Yeah,
So
and
I
memorable.
love it.
And memorable. Like if you did that with your top 10 customers, if every salesperson did that with their top 10 customers every year, what would the difference be in performance and alignment and stickiness? It would, and it's memorable for the customer. I bet you they remember that moment and they don't remember what your fill rates were. You know, like they don't, that stuff goes away fast. But the what you just described is fun and engaging.
Yeah, and it was, and honestly, I could recall it. You know,
Yeah,
if things were, if we're like, hey, we're struggling here, be like, hey, we agreed that we were going to do this together. What are ways we can collaborate on this one? You know, it was
yeah,
important to you, it was important to me. Let's work together. And we always, it was a good way to center us. And you should have seen the faces on a couple of them when I actually brought the one from the year prior back out and said, hey, let's just take, you know, stock and how we did on the we column, right? And so anyway, I share that's not about me and my knowledge, but when you shared simple tools and techniques, like that's something that I used. It was like super simple in the bag back in the day. So
yeah. That's fun. That's cool. Well,
so
I'm looking forward to the session. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, there's some people that were able to attend the sessions from last year. Great. If they come back, this will feel a little bit like a part two, like we're building on it. But if there's new people that come to the session, I think they're still going to get a ton out of it. They're going to walk out with a bunch of resources. So I'm excited about the presentation.
I love that, man. And I am glad to have you back here. Really quickly, for anyone that might be looking at this or you or WinSource for the first time, just do a quick kind of bit about who you are, what WinSource is, and the best way that they can actually reach out to you if they want to get in touch before the summit.
Sure. So WinSource, we focus on staffing and we specialize in training, coaching, consulting. So and we stay in the sales swim lane. Our whole thing is sales. So we work with sales leaders, sales executives, sales people, and we're a butt kicking accountability partner, right? We do everything from tune up performance through training to ongoing coaching to developing sales process, you name it. We get the sales system humming and running well so that, you know, one of the things that I pride myself on is we measure ourselves the same way staffing companies do. Do sales go up? Do margins increase? Does your active customer count go up? And so I feel like we align to steal your line there. We align with our customers and partners through the results that we produce. And people can reach out to me in all the usual channels. We got a website, winsourcegroup.com, of course. But I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook and farmersonly.com. You name it. I'm all over the place.
Oh
Whatever.
man, I love it. I love it, man. And I'm grateful to have you back, and I can't wait to see you in Orlando in a few short months, my friend.
February in Orlando. Why not?